RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. This is Monday. Where are we here? Don't usually do these public, but actually, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll just do them public like I always did before. Yeah, for the next week or two, we'll do these shows public. See how it goes. Maybe we just, like I said, just always just do them public. Don't even really need to have a video on the site anymore. I don't know. See what the feedback is from the YouTube audience and all that kind of fun stuff. But here we are, 18th of November. And happy Monday morning, TGIM, 9:38 on the West Coast. Sorry, starting so late here. Had a bit of computer problems and had to reboot and get all the Brave browser stuff happy. We had the camera cut out yesterday. Maybe hoping that won't happen again here today with a reboot and refresh and all that. Sorry to do it so close to the start of the broadcast, but anyway, we did it. And once you make that decision, there's no going back, right? Interesting. Omar as feedback says 1 week yes, 1 week no. Bi-weekly, weekly required for new people. All right, not quite sure where you guys are going with that. And hopefully Quinn has his Gucci sweater wear on tight and feeling pretty good. Didn't really see a hell of a lot that was sort of earth-shattering here today. I'll move this over here. Everybody knows that it's Monday, 18th of November. I had to reboot, so probably what's going to happen here is when I click on stuff, the screens will have to reload and all that kind of stuff. So it might be a bit messy here today. Starting my routine, and I would like to basically follow my routine on a daily basis, try and be the demonstrator of best practices for you guys. Mondays, I don't really like to be too aggressive, and actually I did see one level came in. Didn't really have indicator confirmation or price structure, so really no reason to do anything. But I went into a meeting with regard to the site, and unfortunately, I didn't get out of that meeting until about half hour ago or so. So I was late for this show as it was, and I really wasn't able to pay attention to the market. And I actually think there was a half decent little short trade set up. Yeah, it looks like there was there. So actually did like the idea. As soon as I start seeing like massive signs of divergence, and actually this is an interesting trade location ATR tool. One of our students actually in the past wrote this script. This is a concept that I teach our pro traders in level 3, how to use ATR to sort of frame expectations on the day. And what a cool analogy that usually once you hit ATR, market kind of asks, does it really want to move higher? And you can see how we kind of stalled out there. Did have my red boxes. Actually, I went through a good portion of my routine. But it was Monday, so if anything, probably best just go slow, take it easy, don't need to push. So as you can see, I was as of 7 o'clock, I had done all my research and everything, and I was all ready to go. And then I got called away to meetings. So I suppose a trader's life, you never know what's going to happen in this crazy game. Anyway. So starting off today, what I like to do, of course, I think I show you on these videos, we have basically a regular routine and we like to go through. I don't think actually you see this on the weekend shows, but anybody who's on the regular broadcast, basically, I like to take a look at the breadth of the market, and if we're getting any egregiously overbought or oversold conditions. Were there any econs that came out today? Unfortunately, I didn't really have a chance to fully fill this out, but we had like housing data down in the States. Housing starts here in China. Mind you, China is not really that important to the world. I suppose we could take a look at some of the broader market measures, and as well as good old Bitcoin and crypto. Um, and I guess Chris here in my absence filled this in. U.S. approves long-range missiles with, I guess that's the ATACMS that the Americans downloaded onto the Ukrainians, and now I get the impression that, for whatever it's worth, it's not really our place to even comment on what the heck they're doing over there. But I get the impression that the Ukrainians tried to push into Russia itself. Then maybe at the negotiating table, Russia will have to give back some of the land that it stole from Ukraine. And I get the impression that the Russians have been subtly told, get your silly little war over with. Because when Mr. Trump actually takes office, if he does, fingers crossed for him, all those silly little petty wars must come to an end. And how ironic, eh? I mean, man, I could spend a lot of time talking about the stupidity of all that. I saw on one social media guy's post 720,000 Russian boys have lost their lives thanks to Mr. Putin. 720,000 Russians. Poof, gone. So sad. And who knows how many Ukrainians got? I'm sure the total is much more. Anyway. All right. So anyway, back to our regular scheduled broadcast. Breadth here, looking a little bit heavy. And I get the impression that we actually, this is where I wouldn't mind looking at price charts. Let's see what happens when I click on the pretty images. So first up, let's see what we got over here. On an intraday basis, actually interesting to see US dollar index itself looks to have stalled out a bit here. Don't know whether this is econ wise or whether it's just simply a function of the market moved in one direction too far and maybe technically we got a little overdone. Interesting on just on the 4-hour price chart, this candle alone, everybody should know what that candle is. That's one of my favorite candles. Pretty powerful failure signal right there on the US dollar index. And I think I had said yesterday in the broadcast that mysteriously, obviously it's not mysterious, the whole thing's a fucking con job, but mysteriously, China turns out actually grew 1% more than what was reported. And we accidentally reported the wrong data. So I guess it shouldn't surprise us to see a bit of a rebound in the Chinese currency here. And the irony of it all is the old data true and this is bullshit now? Or is the old data bullshit and this is the truth now? That's the world that we're living in here. You can't even trust what the hell these market manipulators are telling us, which is, I guess, half of the problem with our sort of modern day human society. Capitalism unfettered here is really just a commentary of who can steal what from whom the quickest and easiest. Thought it was interesting in my country, one of the big grocery stores actually went and bought out another big grocery store. So the oligarchy is getting even more concentrated. Again, sad commentary on the way capitalism is bending our society. And I've told all of you, I warned you, and I can see this coming, that we're basically moving back towards Dickinsonian type capitalism and society. And don't be surprised if we have debtors' prisons and stuff like that mysteriously come on the scene. So, as I always suggest to all of you, neither a debtor nor a lender be. Just don't paint yourself into a corner where the banksters can really screw you. And unfortunately, the banksters, of course, own our governments. So the banksters will use the government as their tool to enforce their wishes. Anyway, welcome to our reality. So interesting to see out of the gate. Bit of weakness in the US dollar index, double top, triple top, gravestone dojis. Yeah, it looks like US dollar index could come off here a chunk. Um, Interesting, though, that we started the conversation off with the breadth. Looks like the broader market is catching a bit of a bid here this morning. So, and if anything, seeing the US dollar index here come off a bit, to a certain degree, if we see things like the euro moving up, that's actually technically a risk on bet. And what I usually do with the day traders is I usually have a matrix. Let's see, where's that? That would be this one. And we just sit and basically gauge the direction of the market based on this fourplex. And if I see that the euro is either egregiously strong or egregiously weak, there is settlement. You can see the euro is very firm here today. Then usually that will actually push up these stock indexes. And conversely, if we see that the euro is abnormally weak and soft on the day, then usually I expect to see stocks come off. So with the fact that the euro is pushing higher here, I mean, we're starting to paint some divergences here potentially. But yeah, euro's fairly uppy on the day. We have had the Europeans, of course, finish their day. They finished up about an hour or so ago. So they're gone. But on balance, it doesn't surprise me to see the stocks catching a bit of a bid. Actually, I did see a stock yesterday when I came back from Liam. I watched a fun video. I always like watching that RJ Speaks guy. And their talks. I can never remember. Is it RJ Speaks or RJ Talks? I always have the same question every single day. But I had posted some charts last night of his thinking, and he had a really interesting gold stock. I like the idea that we are in the part of the cycle that, of course, is all about reflation. You've seen these images. I showed you this extensively yesterday. The cost of money. Right? So, we are in that reflation part of the cycle. And of course, all you Bitcoiners, you all get all excited and rah Bitcoin because that means that we must be in crypto summer part of the cycle. Is this the one I want? This one. Like I said, I'm probably going to have to reload a lot of these charts as we go here. So sorry about that, folks. Hopefully you get some value out of this here today. So of course, all you Bitcoiners, I mean, this is what's coming. Hope you're ready. And if you're not, get your ass in the damn school and learn how to behave in the marketplace, and you will be ready to take advantage of all this. But the point being that you could play this reflation game through, ironically enough, through the stock market. Stocks are by themselves, ironically enough, by definition, stocks are inflationary. So if stocks move up, then obviously that means the economy's inflating. You can play it through crypto and Bitcoin. And I think this will ultimately be sort of the market's proxy as we move sort of forward in this technological world that we live in. And, you're probably even going to hear people say, well, gold Geez, that's what my granddad used to invest in. I own Bitcoin, digital gold, all that kind of talk, blah, blah, blah. Interesting debate in the marketplace as to, I think things like Ethereum are kind of like this cycle sort of growth proxy within the crypto sphere, if that's at all possible. POS versus POW, that kind of thing. And then the question ultimately becomes, is this the only proxy in this space, or should we be watching new kids on the block that want to try and steal some of this market share in the DeFi and tokenization of assets kind of world, and interested in things like Solana. Have noticed, and actually interesting to see, a lot of little crypto names are all starting to come back to life like crazy. And of course, we talked lots about this yesterday. Get your skirt together. Obviously, this one you missed the boat. Had a bid working on this guy down here, but I originally actually loaded up on a lot of these cryptocurrencies back here, banged out doubles, and then we sort of me personally, kind of floundered. Had a bid working against these lows. I don't know whether we'll see that now or not. We might. You never know in this crazy ass game. I suppose if I get any kind of dips back down into 78.6s against these original double bottoms, I might just CFO that order. But there's no way in hell I can buy that. So, and I think you all know that. And I don't really know. I mean, you can see quite a bit of green on the screen. So I think these numbers are all going to or these names are all going to sort of pop on their own sort of own path. And really, as I had said yesterday, I don't really see this stalling out until probably maybe even the end of the year. We could very easily see all this, just this inertia push higher here into the end of the year. I could easily see that. If anything, I've often talked to you, if we just use this as an example, usually what happens in this space is nothing ever moves in a straight line. It's sort of like one move, then a consolidation, then a second move. So I could very easily see that that was the initial burst, and then we'll probably get a consolidation, which might set up a continuation trade, which takes us up here. Just as an example, it's pretty typical. And you can go through these one after the other, after the other, after the other. I think they're all basically the same. I mean, the only message that I really have here, I think, is we knew from the money cycle conversation that we were getting pretty darn close to some sort of pivot. And really, the question was, what was going to be the catalyst that actually sort of, ignited the fire? And I think that the catalyst, of course, was the election. So it's happened. We have broken out higher highs and higher lows, defines a bull market. Key support right now on something like Bitcoin's 49 Gs. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of technical pullback here. That's usually how this stuff goes. Question here is, do we actually have to reach all the way up to things like 2.618s here in the near term? And you can see we're, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from breaking out to new highs. And then if we do get that subsequent pullback, I think I showed you in previous years, the consolidation pullback is usually to good old Mountain Man, which will happen to be just like a Wyckoff check. So my hunch is the next buying window is somewhere. Actually, I don't know whether it's even that far away. It'll be interesting to see because usually the first to second week of December, we have a little bit of a pullback, but I don't think that that's actually going to be the pullback that brings us down into mountains. What probably happens here is the initial pullback should probably bring us back into things like 38.2s, and Collins pump chaser zone and all that kind of fun talk. So that's sort of like there. I wouldn't be surprised if whatever the peak is into that, if this happens to be the peak, I don't know where it is, but it might be there. Into that first sort of week of December, there's a very famous speech by Alan Greenspan that week after the Thanksgiving break, where he made I think that's how you spell it. Mind you, I'm a terrible speller. Um, let's see, am I right? Ooh, spell checker says I'm right. Anyway, where he famously made the expression, "You people are all crazy," because they were bidding stocks up like nuts following the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. People were feeling pretty good. I think it was like 1996 or so, somewhere in there. Market was rallying pretty strong into the first week of November. Allen had a speech at some sort of economics club or whatever, and the market literally lost its lunch like right after it just puked right out like about 1 or 2%, which isn't really that much, but it sort of caught everybody's attention. I always tell you, if you ever see the market move more than 2% in one day, that is eye opening. That will catch people's attention. And it became famous. And what's interesting is if you go year in, year out, I don't know whether it really pertains too much to Bitcoin itself. But if you go year in, year out, you can see Monday, December 4th, notice the following weeks, a little bit of a pause there in Bitcoin price. That was just last year. 23. There is the first week of December. Notice a bit of a pause for a couple weeks. Peaked at 18, hit a subsequent low of about 16. So that's a good 10% correction. If we go back to 2022, of course, this was, I guess, like in the midst of the bear. I beg your pardon, that's 21. This one near the top. There's 22 over there. But the end of 21, December, of course, a bit of a trough. So hopefully you can see just looking over the past few years. Don't be shocked if once we get on the other side of the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, we see a bit of a pause in price. That's usually what happens. And the one thing that I absolutely love about using this indicator is this is it's an excellent sort of gauge for the broader market health. I like it often. I see markets will go into divergence, i.e., the Dow or the S&P or the Nasdaq or something will actually be fairly firm, and even sometimes the SPY, the S&P 500 index itself. But that's really a function of this screwed up world that we live in, where, what is it? What do they call them? The Darling Seven or the Magnificent Seven or something like that. And just a very few number of stocks can dramatically affect the broader market. What did I want to show you? This over here. I don't think that's what I want to show you. But anyway, interesting to see Dow here is actually down right now. NASDAQ up 0.75%, obviously led by, Al, a fantastic analogy. I don't think Tesla is such a great company. And yeah, I mean, Julian likes it. It's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. I don't really like battery powered cars. And I think Mr. Musk is more of like a Barnum and Bailey type of guy. And you might even argue that some of the inertia around this stock right now is just purely attributed to his little circle jerk exercise that he's having with Donnie there in the White House and talking about cutting spending in the US government. And it's all well and good here. And I suppose they're not in the White House yet. It's all well and good that they are talking about this. It will be another thing completely to see whether they can actually do anything. My hunch is going to be much easier said than done, but we'll see how that goes. I wouldn't be surprised if stocks like Tesla actually do fairly well into this inauguration event. And then once the rubber actually hits a road and he actually does start running into resistance, trying to cut costs in the way that he thinks should be cut. Let's see how that actually plays out. Um, it's one thing if you own a company and you are the president and you have a little hissy fit and say, well, if you don't like what I want, then I quit and I'm just going to disappear. And everybody goes, oh my God, don't go, don't go, don't go. We'll do whatever you want. That's one approach, but unfortunately, I don't think that that same approach is going to work with managing the U.S. government. But we will see, won't we? Anyway, I do think that Allen and Allen proxies are just riding the inertia of that, and if we actually look at the actual fundamentals here, I mean, is this going too far too fast? Seems a little bit aggressive. The price movement here. I mean, the stock was what less than half of what it is now here. So it's doubled in less than 6 months of time. Anybody who's worked with me actually over time knows specifically I have a very specific rule about commodity prices and what you should expect out of big indexes and stuff if they ever double in price in less than 6 months of time. So that's kind of an interesting development. Fundamentally, this is an absolute train wreck. I mean, you see the color of these numbers, right? I mean, I'm kind of colorblind. The one good part I like about FinViz is they actually make it fairly simple to see what are good fundamentals and what are bad. Bad is red, good is green. It appears that they're earning money and they are growing earnings, so I suppose that's a good sign. But trading at over 100 times earnings, conservatively, PE ratios are like 10 times earnings. If you ever see single digit PEs, that's like value stocks. A lot of times, like really aggressively priced growth stocks trade at like 20 to 30, sometimes above 30 times earnings. And when you do get into those kind of situations, you're kind of like, "Ooh, this is nosebleed, stinky." These numbers are insane. This is stupidity, absolute stupidity. I like to invest in companies that are at book value or less, because then that way I know if the poop hits the fan, and the company has to go into bankruptcy or something, if it's trading at less than book value, then you just sell off all the assets, and actually the sum of all the parts is worth more than what it's trading at in the marketplace. This is insane. 15 times book. And ironically enough, he's only sitting on $10 a share in cash, and the stock's $350 a share. So you can't make the argument that you're investing in value here. This is purely Allen, Circle Jerk, Barnum and Bailey. We all love him. He's the best, and he's going to reinvent the wheel. And you just buy into him and just ride his coattails. Not really my approach to investing. So there's no way in hell I'd be interested in even looking at something like this. And of course, anybody that's worked with me over the years, also taken our education program, knows full well what these holes in the price chart represent and what's the statistical probability that these holes should be filled in at some point down the road. So if you don't know, maybe consider joining our education program and let's school you up on things like gap theory. And actually, it's interesting. I think you could actually make the argument breakaway gap, measuring gap, exhaustion gap. Ooh, hello. Interesting. So if anything, I might even for fun going. I mean, it's moved up an awful long way, but I'm sure the volatility here probably makes options prices not realistic. Might even review with our TRI SOF club tomorrow. Maybe even looking at like a bear put spread or something on this, like maybe 200 and 220s or something. Because gee whiz, that sure has moved up an awful long way. Anyway, so I think that this is sort of actually a pretty good analogy of the market state. It's like, I mean, you can see, well, I guess on balance, a bit of green on the screen. Interesting how this market darling, the semiconductor name, is having a really hard time. But what I often find with these stock indexes, especially on a day like this, I suppose, is we have the breadth indicator kind of, and if you're a fan of indicators, think of this as like RSI or stochastic or something like that. But the indicator, the broader health of the market is actually not really overly happy. But at the same time, too, we're in kind of like no man's land here with the breadth indicator sitting at like 38 on the medium term. That's not really egregiously oversold. Um, when we get down to like under 20, that's when you can start going, hey, you know what? There's probably some discounts there, and there's probably going to be some sort of dead cat bounce. So we don't even really have that. And you can see that we actually just rolled over to the bear on the bread. So the broader market's kind of like, nah, not really anything to really write home about. And kind of pointing kind of, not going to say bearish, but just not really overly happy. It's kind of just like middle of the road, meh. Could this turn around and turn back up? Sure, you can do any old damn thing at once. If anything, we'd probably want to see a couple of days of some consolidation out of our fast, and probably what that means is we want to see this sort of stabilize and this stabilize and start to turn back up. So it's probably going to be a little while before the broader market gets too excited. But it is interesting to see how the semiconductors, most of the semiconductors are relatively happy today. But NVIDIA, the darling in that space, not so happy. And if we go and look at the semiconductors themselves, they always say that the SOX, SMH is the ETF, but the SOX, that's what they used to call it, the semiconductor index. It is technically the ultimate leading indicator in the stock market. And that's not a happy looking chart, folks. I'm sorry. This is the actual, this is the semiconductor ETF, but it's basically an ETF off of the semiconductor index. And as I said there a second ago, I mean, this is like the stock that everybody's in love with in the stock market. And it's not really overly happy. It was interesting. We were looking at potential short here. That one got stopped out. Did the signal actually fire? I don't know. But interesting. Look how very shortly thereafter, in comes another little double top M right there. So I would imagine something along those lines. If you're going to strap on the trade. And actually, this is pretty straightforward. Usually, what the rule that I like to sort of teach people is, and this happened to be a 50% level, but I do like to force myself to take partial profits at 2-1. And what I actually like to do is on 50% of the anticipated move actually getting hit, I like to move my stop to scratch. So even on this one, that would not have happened. So this is actually a full outright loss. Interesting how another double top just came in right after the fact. And I often see this. In fact, kind of a fun anecdote. I asked LBR years and years ago, it'd be almost a decade ago now, if you saw a setup that you liked, top of the range, double top of it, how many at a PRZ, blah, 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 how many short shots would you take? And she actually said, well, usually I take like 2 shots off of a level. So this will be really interesting to see whether the first shot failed and whether the second shot actually might succeed. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, it's a trader's life. That's the one thing that I think kind of sadly a lot of the public just doesn't ever clue into, is the fact that most professional traders, they don't expect to be right all the time. In fact, They even build into their plans that they expect to be wrong quite a bit. So, this might be a good example where the second shot, interesting, the second double top breakdown, which looks like you got a pretty clean signal to get in there. It actually did have 50% of its 2-to-1 move hit, and you'd move your stop to scratch on this one. That's kind of interesting how that's developed. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. What's interesting about this, I think more importantly, is the fact that the actual semiconductor index here has also gone and put in very well defined double top now off of this range. And actually, this is interesting because this was a smaller range. And we never did break this high, right? That high there was 262.26. Is that right? And 261.15. So we were not able to go and take out that high. So as a result, this creates a new M, which creates an even bigger Foggenbaum. That's interesting how 2.618 is basically just a test of that low again. And interesting how 4.669 of that range is actually a move down to Mountain Man. I don't know whether that's of any use to you, but it is interesting to see how this is not really looking overly bullish here right now. And the fact that we broke to new lows here, this does actually paint lower highs and lower lows. So if you are a stock market bull and you want to see this market head higher in earnest, this thing has to clean itself up. I don't know whether it will or not. I don't know whether 5-to-1 kind of risk rewards make a lot of sense here. Might even argue that that's actually not, I would rather be short from the actual harmonic level, but if you were playing double tops and you're going to use 50% level as your price objective, that spits out a 2.58 risk reward. That's not bad. Let's go off of that high there. So it's 2.58. And the same logic as I just showed you a second ago on that NVIDIA, probably if we do trade back down to this level, which is interesting, right? Because you see there's a price gap right there. And really all that would imply is that we're just going to test this low, which is realistic. If we do trade down to that 2.618, then you move your stop to scratch and you shouldn't get hurt on the trade if it doesn't work. But hey, regardless of the trade or not, I think this is an interesting market message that's being sent here. So, a cautionary message. I don't really see anything here to get excited about. This was one of our screener names. It kind of puked out after it hit a profit objective. Nothing to get excited about there. AMD. It's interesting. I did hear people talking about being uber bullish of AMD here. I don't know. I just don't see it. And especially with the way the semiconductors look, I just don't see this. I think at best, maybe you could argue boom, boom. We are in a bit of a wedge here. So I would actually expect, kind of like Casey and his bow tie, I would actually expect to see some sort of showdown right down in this area. And also, too, that would kind of make sense, too, because if we look at the price chart, I guess that's that gap on the SMH we were talking about a second ago. Or was that NVIDIA? I can't remember. Anyway, we are coming. If we lose these lows, if we puke out through these lows, then all bullish bets are completely off the table. I might even suggest something like boobity boo and boobity boo. Aha, interesting. Right into Casey's bow tie there. So I kind of like a move down into this area. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I don't have any reason to be like overtly bullish here. I guess the one thing that really bothers me about the semiconductor sector is if we actually look at this on a longer term basis, oh boy, this thing's coming off a long way. God, I remember there was a guy on the site, Chubba, who used to be uber bullish of AMD. And really, if you want to make a fortune in the stock market, this is what you really want to hunt for. This is NSCH. Who knows what the hell that stands for? If you know what that stands for, This is what you really want to look for in the market to make a fortune from investing. The longer the something, the bigger the something. So coming in right here, not really something I'd be overly excited about. Yeah, anyway, so what defines a horse race, I suppose. Um, what I don't like, what I'm seeing here, as I said a second ago, is the fact that we are making lower highs and lower lows here. So until this pattern stops and we actually start Wing out on other sides of trend lines, actually, this is a really, really good lesson for all of you on trend lines. So this trend line is confirmed. It goes from potential up here to actually confirmed and active on this event, ironically enough, right here. So that trend line becomes active and alive and valid, in my opinion, the what I teach, when the market structure is confirmed that yes, indeed, this is a big fat M. And interesting, I often tell people, and I don't know how many people actually listen to me, but wow, this is such a good analogy of this. Is, a lot of people in the public, they will start getting uber bullish on the push through this trend line, but that's not a buy signal. If anything, you have to get on the other side of this structure and then W, and then we get a big fat buy signal. Because quite often what happens is, you've heard the expression, what once was resistance actually becomes support. But if it's a downtrend, well, that support can be a very slippery slope. And now we lost the trend line again. So now has what was resistance turned into support is now turned back into resistance? Could very well be. So I can't be bullish of this until we break that and then start putting in structure on the other side of that trend line. So, just not overly impressed with what I'm seeing here. Now, that doesn't mean it can't happen. Show me something like that, and my tune completely changes. Anyway, so with regard to the semiconductors, as the ultimate leading indicator, if anything, might be interesting to keep an eye on this ASML. As they provide equipment for the semiconductor manufacturing industry, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is Sjord's Dutch proxy here. I always like to get those buttons off of here. I don't want to accidentally push a button that's going to cause me to do something stupid. And really, the semiconductor manufacturers are usually a good proxy as a leading indicator in the semiconductor space itself. So the question, I suppose, ultimately is, could this potentially be maybe like an inverted head and shoulders? So we need this thing to get its butt back above this neckline here. And maybe we have the smatterings of some sort of bottoming pattern here. But as it stands right now, lower highs and lower lows defines a bear, lower highs and lower lows defines a bear. We were not able to take that high out. If anything, if you're a bull, you would have preferred this rally go out and bust that high out. So the fact that it couldn't is a little bit disturbing. I think what this just simply says is that we have a pretty solid resistance level there. We got to get back above there, and that'll probably cause the moving averages to turn back up, etc. So if you are a semiconductor bull, you want to be rooting for this guy to start turning the corner. Well, it might be interesting, like AMAT, for example, is a good semiconductor equipment manufacturer here in North America. Now, you tell me, does that chart look bullish or does that chart look bearish? Meg, where's Meg? Meg knows the answer to this. She's not going to answer. Maybe she is answering. I can't see. I'm a terrible eyesight. Hey, can anybody help Meg out? How about you people over on YouTube? All 46 of you. Does that look like a bullish or bearish price pattern? I was hoping all of you would say, well, Brian, I don't know whether it's bearish, but it's awfully tough to be bullish if we keep making this bearish price structure. So the fact that AMAT itself is breaking down in Qatar, I appreciate that you think differently of AMD. I'm not criticizing. There is no judgment here. All I'm doing is just telling you what I see, and I'm a little bit skeptical there. No big deal. That's what makes a horse race, right? So I'm certainly not being critical whatsoever. I guess what I see here out of AMAT, which is a little bit concerning, is this looks like A to B and C to D. So, and also too, remember I had said earlier, I really don't like the fact that this whole market has moved up so dramatically. I mean, if I actually was bullish of AMAT, I think I probably want to be a buyer. Yeah, down in value, fill in this node against the POC. There's Brian's favorite fib. And I might even argue, if we're talking trends, this trend is very old. Right there is actually and you love when this happens. Notice how I remember we talked about what was support, what turns into resistance, what's where resistance turns into support. Would be really interesting. I bet this on a log scale does that. No, okay, no, I would have lost that bet. This is interesting. I'm surprised actually they didn't come up and kiss that trend line from the other side there. So, and the fact that this is actually confirmed means that we can actually draw Chen channels. Check this out. So we can go there to there and draw it back against the previous structural low. And I think that is your trend channel right now. So put it all together, and that's an awful tough chart for me to turn too bullish on. Actually, interesting on Friday, a gap lower. What was the news that drove that? And I'm just having fun with you guys here today. I hope you guys aren't too disappointed. If anything, on the YouTube page, I don't really have a hell of a lot of direction I want to take the conversation here today. So if you have something you really would like me to look at, feel free to suggest it, and I'll pop on over there. Remember I was barking about Allen and his fucking crazy ass price to book. Look at this guy here. He's 7.5 times book. That's half of what Allen's valuations are right now. And I would consider that very, very expensive stock. So it just goes to show how absolutely ridiculous expensive Allen stock is there. Having said that, they always say markets can remain illogical far longer than anybody can remain solvent. My hunch here, for whatever it's worth, is this thing's probably going to work its way lower here as we clean up. And also to remember, semiconductors do really, really well in the technology space, which does really, really well in the anti-oil, anti-commodity kind of arena, which does really, really well, in the political party in the United States that is sort of anti-commodity, which is all about the Democrat Party. And of course, we know that the Democrats are being politely shown the door. And they're being shown the door right across Washington, which is fascinating. My hunch is that in 2 years, the pendulum swings completely back the other direction and the Democrats come storming back into power into Congress. But we'll see how that goes. So the next 2 years, the Republicans basically own Washington. And these technology companies and stuff, they are not going to find a friendly ear in Washington through that, which is fascinating why Allen actually has chummied up so well with Donald. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this was actually a calculated strategic move, if anything, by Allen, knowing that Donnie is absolutely in love with oil. And if he didn't sort of get in on the inside of Trump, you might have found that Trump actually had excommunicated companies like Tesla. With Allen kissing Donnie's ass as much as he is right now, I think that that's a gambit by Allen to try and save Tesla from being basically sacrificed on the altar of oil. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. So usually these tech stocks actually don't do very well under Republican controlled governments. And, probably the easiest way for you to all see that is if we go back and look at things like the NASDAQ and how did the NASDAQ do under George Bush Jr.'s tenure running the US government there back in 2000. And of course, this was the dot-com peak. And you can see, like literally, there is the election, October, November 2000. And you can see for October 2002. So for literally 2 years, the NASDAQ just got absolutely destroyed. So don't be shocked if the next couple of years are going to be pretty tough on tech and tech stocks. Don't be surprised at all, folks. Which is interesting when we talk about good old Bitcoin and all that. One might even argue that they might even be building in to Bitcoin a huge part of this rally now before we even get to Donnie taking office. I mean, that might be half the reason why this thing's moving up and all of crypto is just going nuts is they're actually doing the bull now. It's happening. So I hope you're enjoying the ride. Well, anyway, just make sure to pay yourself if prices move up substantially. Okay, so right out of the gate, US dollar weakness, which should be relatively okay for the stock market and risk. And you can see all the international currencies interesting. Asian currencies, not so much. Well, I guess maybe just Japanese yen, but Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, all the commodity currencies are actually all pretty happy here. I did say, though, that I don't think that this is actually a really good time of year for us to get too uber bullish of things like gold. I like the idea of us, getting ready for this coming cycle. I like the idea of some sort of cycle peak into next October, November for things like crypto. And I also think that that is going to correspond well with the money cycle and the short-term interest rates. I did, speaking of fundamentals, actually, this is probably the best segue. Remember, I had showed you just briefly, I came back from Liam yesterday and I listened to RJ Speaks, and I even posted on his video, I even said something like, 9 times out of 10, when you hear people tout stocks, remember I bought that little tech stock. I can't remember what the name of it was, just an absolute piece of shit, and it landed flat on its face. Some guy on social media was touting it. Turns out it was a dog. So most of the time when I hear people tout stocks, I'm like, nah, that's probably nothing. Usually they don't really amount to anything. Then I actually took the opportunity, and the stock that he was touting was U.S. Gold Mining Inc. I pulled up the chart, and actually, this is a relatively new issue, which is interesting unto itself. You can clearly see a massive gap higher. And of course, when we do our fibs and our chaos theory, I thought it was fascinating that dead cat bounces off of the lows right back into reload short zones. What a big surprise. Interesting off of the massive double bottom. That also is 2.618. And what a shock, the stock stalled there. Interesting off of this double top, if we do 2.618, it actually is basically right underneath this 88.6 here, which also happens to be a big hole, a gap on the charts right there. So you have like Julian's favorite fib, you've got this big gap, and you've got the 2.618. And also, too, this is basically back up against the original market structure bottom there. So I actually posted in his thing, I said, most of the stocks are crap, but wow, what an interesting stock. And I absolutely love it technically. We'll come back to the technical story in a second. But just check this out. This is incredible. Oh, U.S. Gold Mining. So remember those numbers that we were looking at on Allen and like AMAT, right? Now, what is the definition of a value stock? Look at this. Forward PE. Didn't I say something about if companies are trading less than 10 times earnings? That's a value stock? How about price to earnings growth rate? Where's Meg? I'm going to bug you again, Meg. I'm going to keep bugging you until I get an answer out of you. What do we say is the a good ratio if you invest in growth companies? What's a good ratio that we look for? You want to see under this number if you're looking at the price to earnings growth. Anyone? It's taught in our level 1 program. You like love. You like love? Which is it? You like it or you love it? Anyone? Nick, you should know the answer to this. Who else is in here? Oh, maybe Nick's gone. Glass Insights. You should know the answer to this. You like and love it. All right, there you go. Hey, am I still connected, Chris? Am I still? Oh, there we go. All right, 2 to 3. What's the price earnings growth rate of this company? Look at that number. I mean, this is the whole point of doing your research. Look at the price to book. It's trading at just a little bit above book. And ironically enough, I told him that I would be willing to actually, this is Gold Corp. This is actually a totally wrong company. Oh, what a doofus. Okay, let's try this again. Why the hell did I get the symbol wrong there? US Gold Mining Inc. What the fuck's the goddamn symbol? Now I look like an idiot. Let's try that again. US Gold. No, it was. US Gold Mining. Oh, what a knucklehead. Let's try that again. So I hate to say it. I think Barrick is actually cheap. These gold stocks are getting cheap. Isn't that funny? Anyway, let's see if we can find this one. US Gold Mining. Oh, no. Isn't that weird? I was looking at it yesterday. Maybe they took it. USGO, eh? Isn't that weird? There it is. US Gold Mining Inc. Why the fuck could I not find that? Thank you, sir. Oh, you cocksucker. Ah, bastards. So I told him yesterday that I was willing to throw in a bid for it. Oh, look at these numbers now. Now they look like poop. Ah, well. Yesterday they looked really good. So that's kind of weird what's going on here. Anyway, look at this. 89% insider owned. I couldn't believe that. Only 12 million shares out. Actually, isn't this interesting? When I looked at the fundamentals yesterday, didn't I post this on the site? Yeah, what did I post here? All right, let's see what I said here. Long-term debt, quick ratio. Look at this current ratio, 7.95. That means they have a ton of cash. They got 37 cents a share in cash. Now, this was as of the stock yesterday at like $7, $8, at $11. I'm sure these numbers are right off the map. So, and not really compelling here, price to earnings growth. My apologies on that note. But I really like the fact that almost 90% of the stock is owned by insiders. There's only 12 million shares outstanding, and there's 1.3 million in the float. So if somebody comes along and touts the stock, odds are the damn stock is going to do that. And that's exactly what it did. Kaboom. I actually posted on his video. I was like, holy shit, that's a nice stock. And I said, I'm happy to be long from $6 and I'm going to work a bid down at that level. And of course, what does the stock do? It launches higher here. So I don't know how long it's going to take, but I do have a bid working down here at $6. And the one thing that kind of bugs me about gold right now is, and maybe it might even be a bit of a warning sign for crypto, is if we actually look at the seasonalities, I always like this site. If I want to invest in gold, you can see where the gold window is. You should buy the end of July, and you should look to take profits into October. So we just sort of went through that window. And if you look at the gold price, it makes sense, right? Here is the gold price. So you want to buy middle of July, and you want to sell into October. So that was the seasonal rally. So it's awfully tough for me to come in and be get all bullish of gold right here. So unfortunately, damn stocks moved up here. I would interesting how they rallied it up and filled in a gap right here. I would expect, like I showed you, I guess that's a move up here now. I guess that would break that fog and bomb. So that 2.618 unfortunately is off the table. But I still definitely like, if I want to buy this thing, I want to wait and just hunt that gap right in there. And that's where I'm going to bid. And I am bidding. So, but nothing I can do today. That's too bad. I was kind of hoping I could do something there. And also interesting too, like if we look at the seasonal picture for the gold and silver stocks, I think we're basically right here right now, which does mean into the end of November, beginning of December. Think of the irrational exuberance pop through the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And I think you could probably see, gold work its way back up top. Like, keep in mind that was a pretty big move down. I could very easily see a rally up here into November, early December there, counter trend rally, 50% retracements, all that kind of talk. Right. If we go boo to boo, if I, wanted to short this, trade it, then I would probably do something along those lines and hunt that level right up in there. So I definitely could see the market rally higher here into that beginning of December. But I really like this sort of middle of December. Usually there's a pretty steep pullback here. And then ultimately the low that seasonally that gold puts in is usually around the third week of January. And if you think about this from a the irrational exuberance, the Thanksgiving holiday hangover, that actually makes a lot of sense. And then this, of course, is going to be right around the inauguration. So I wouldn't be surprised as we sort of get into January, and also too, this will be the January barometer. Usually what happens is beginning of the year, we have a big sort of jump out of the gate as everybody's all optimistic for the year. Then about halfway through January, reflecting what usually happens the end of the summer, heading into the fall, usually we have a pullback in risk. So it is interesting how that's going to correspond almost perfectly with Mr. Trump's inauguration. And if anything, I like this seasonality study because what this says is we're probably going to be working. I mean, I do like a nice dip here around that irrational exuberance window. And I would argue that crypto probably has a very similar seasonal study. Then a push up into sort of year end, little euphoria around the beginning of the new year, and that January barometer type thinking. And then as we get closer to the election and people are becoming uncertain about what the future is going to hold and the actual transition, I think you're actually going to see a bit of softness in the market. So interestingly enough, from a seasonal perspective, this aligns actually quite well with sort of what to expect here in the broader market as well. I think there's a lot of correlation here. So as a result, an interesting, his stock jumped up there. I wouldn't be surprised if gold and gold stocks in general do fairly well here into that Thanksgiving holiday weekend. And as a nice dovetail, I think that corresponds well nicely with crypto also doing fairly well here into the holiday weekend. I don't see it breaking. It's just really a question, I suppose, now of if we look at this dominance. I think some people on the site, this is not a bad segue. Interesting how we banged into good old Mountain Man there. That's technically very normal. So not really a big surprise to see a bit of a fight there. Interesting how, and actually, I don't know whether we want to go off of clotheslines. I guess maybe that must, there would be clotheslines. Let's see where that takes us right there. Interesting. Okay, so that's a little bit lower. But I think something like that, right? Are we there yet? Maybe there's another push higher here. I don't know. That's a tough one. But I think kind of like this is almost feels like you're squeezing the last little bit of juice out of the orange. Um, expecting a huge outperformance of Bitcoin relative to the broader crypto market, I think I think that you're asking a bit much now. This move is getting a bit old, I think. And probably also too, we start to see things like divergence and stuff here, that probably might also be another sort of warning sign. I don't know whether that's actually a trade or not, but what I did notice is you can see total market cap is pushing higher. Even Ethereum is pushing higher here. Interesting how Litecoin stalled out a bit. The total three, this is basically all of crypto minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's looking pretty uppy, eh? I think we could probably even do something like A to B and things like bot setups, obviously backwards. Right, and then C to D. So you should be able to see something along those lines. Boom. Oops, that's backwards. Boom. There we go. Oh, what a surprise. So the bot level actually corresponds nicely with with all of this double bottomy type action. So it looks to me like these juniors, they're starting to catch a bit of a bid here. And of course, you've been following dog money and all that kind of stuff. They've all been going crazy here lately. Cripple, interesting. Now, as I said before, you can't chase that. Obviously that's dramatically outperforming Bitcoin price action. And you can see it's right across the board. All of these little alts, actually, other than interesting, SHIB is a bit soft. And interesting too how dog money it seems to have stalled out. I remember I sold half on a double right up here. I had made reference yesterday that sometimes the crypto kids get angry at me for selling halves on doubles because they think I put the top in the market. I don't think so. But having said that, is that a kind of market you want to buy? Absolutely not. And if you do want to buy, you know exactly where you're going to find me. Actually, and this is even one of our shark setups on the site. I don't know. Actually, it might be even interesting to sort of conjecture as to where the bottom comes in or top this counter trend rally. If we line up 4.669s with 78.6s and the bottom of value, that would actually imply that dog money could rally back up into there. And then if we got any sort of signs of failure, well, that's up, down, up, see you later. So we haven't failed here yet. I mean, definitely not a buy location whatsoever. It's just really a question of have we actually topped here yet? I think it's still a bit early, but at the same time, too, the writing's on the walls. Let's see if anybody on the social media page can fill in this statement. Right? And this is where I get everybody on social media to all swear in unison. The always rises, huh? And I think you all know the answer to that. So, in a weird sort of way, you have Bitcoin take off, and now you've got all the altcoins take off. I would almost consider, thank you. I would almost consider this like intermediate. That's probably the way I would look at all of these. I think these are all like intermediate names. Actually, this is a really good example. I even tweeted this out yesterday. You heard Mr. Cartea there over on the page there, talking with Julian last week about his love of Brian's bias. Maybe you know what? Maybe we'll even change it to Cotter's bias. It's fine by me. I always like to try and make you people famous. That's my goal in life. So 13 EMA versus 30 SMA on the weekly price charts. So I thought this was interesting. What a great analogy of this tool. And I actually like using this tool to help me see what the trend in the broader stock market is. So we can use it on S&P and stuff as well. But, this is part of the weekly commodity trend survey. if you have an asset that's down at the bottom end of the range and then you get this bias turns up, this actually flashes the most bullish signal you can have on the weekly commodity trend survey. And hopefully you see this is the whole point of this, is this basically captures this whole move up here. And then there's the bearish bias. You can see the market broke down and this captures that whole down move. It's interesting. Look what's happening here right now. It hasn't crossed yet, but this is where you really want to pay close attention. What is this thing going to do? And if you can get any kind of consolidation here after one of these signals, see how this signal came in, a bit of consolidation. Yeah, get in there and hunt a trade, because that to me looks like he's about to bottom. So I don't know whether you'll be able to even get reload zone dips here. It might just go sideways here, but gee whiz, good looking price chart there. And ironically enough, this is actually what I'm trying to teach all of you how to recognize. Bottom ends of the range, reload zones, structural signals, indicator signals, right? Put it all together. Location, indicator confirmation, price structure. Is that a 3-step setup that can help you make money from trading and frame risk? I think so. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I even put a tweet out yesterday because I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Because what I was doing here, of course, I'm hunting, got some more capital over there on Kraken and hunting for buys. I want to buy. I'm in a buying mood. Problem is, I don't want to buy up markets like this. So unfortunately, on a day like this, I can't do any buying. And most of these names, when I looked at them, they've already moved up. Eh? So you can see how, oh, look at that. There's a bias signal. That guy's already fired. You can see the double bottom. You can see we're at the bottom in the range. Does this make sense what I'm saying here? Do you see how this turned TRI bull? What is this? This is storage. I think somebody asked me to look at storage recently. Can you understand the logic here? Trade location, indicator confirmation, price structure. Could you work a bid down in here? Sure, why not? Really cool. This one, a little bit too early. We don't have enough data here to actually run the weekly model. RLC, super interested in this one. I think we definitely have trade location. Are the indicators going to turn up? They're still pretty wide, which means we probably have to see a pop here to get this moving averages to turn up. But you can see the double bottom in price. Interesting, 78.6. I've told you repeatedly over the past, a lot of times, if you just place your bid like Nanny Nibbles, little old lady kind of talk, you just place your order and just get yourself some on the books at that 78.6 level. A lot of times you find that you'll look back over time and you'll go, here's a good example. Maybe you bought on that there, went up and you're like, ooh, look how smart I am. Then it went down and you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not so smart. Then it comes back up and down and up and down and up and down and up. And you see, after a while, it turns out the damn thing bottoms right off that 78.6. Isn't that incredible? Absolutely incredible. All right, what's this? Primrose Pangles says, please stay public. All right. I'm telling you, me personally, I'm getting old. I've been doing this for 10 years straight. I'm kind of feeling like I want to wind down things down personally. So enjoy this while I'm still doing this. We'll see whether, and I suppose that kind of feedback there, Primrose, is what we need to hear. Maybe I just do this for the rest of my days. We'll just keep doing this public. I don't know. There's a bull signal. Woohoo! Fortunately, you can't chase that. But what a beautiful analogy of trade location, eh? Holy crap on a stick. 78.6. I mean, and the weird thing is, I even had bids working down here and I wasn't able to get filled. Oh, well, what can you do? I'm already long a bunch here, so certainly don't have anything to complain about. I'm not quite sure where else to take this conversation today. It's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll just surf through some of these and see if anything appeals to anybody. Yeah, I mean, I did some nibbling here, basically off of this entire range on this EGLD. I think this is one of Eddie's favorite names, and I always wanted to get in on this thing because Eddie liked it. So I didn't really mind getting in down here. Yeah, pretty good trade location. So that's working. You can see if we do resolve this range bullish, that will turn that medium term moving average relationship back up. EOS, there's another interesting one. Great location right down at the bottom end of his range. I had reload zone come in, picked up a bit of that. He's popped up. In fact, no, still a ways to go to get a double on that one. ADA, of course, we already banged out a double. Interesting, fantastic analogy of trade location. Beautiful double bottoms coming in right off that. Was able to sneak in off of this reload zone off of that range. That was a nice one. Can't really do anything there now. This guy here, you can see there's 78.6. Talked to you a few minutes ago about other names that came down to that area. Not a big surprise to see some moving around here. Still no real trending signal, so I wouldn't be surprised if this thing has to back up a little bit here, but we'll see. Another great reload zone pullback. You can see he's just about to turn back up here, trending signal. Nothing yet there. That guy doesn't have enough data on Kraken. Although I think so this is Binance. Yeah, there you go. So beautiful trade location. You can see the W's trying to form here. Moving averages haven't quite turned back up bullish here yet, so yeah, we're still pretty early. This is what I was telling everybody yesterday. Look at the market has not gone crazy yet. You still have an opportunity to get your shit together and get that plan together and start working bids and just slowly accumulate. Those are all the ones that I have bought recently. Actually, that's probably not the best place to show you. These are the ones that I bought recently. This guy, this guy, this guy. Already sold some of him. That guy, that guy, that guy. Have to do it on Kraken. You saw the chart there over on Binance. Looks pretty good. I think this guy's getting ready to go. Interesting how we don't have too many actual trending signals yet. So I think this is an anecdote that we're still relatively early in this. I don't think you've missed the boat just yet. Look at that, good old Frax. I was working a bid right down at the bottom here. I was kind of hoping for one more pullback, so fingers crossed. Look, Link's trying to turn back up. Interesting how he did get down to 78.6. I wanted to buy some more down off of this candle body low, so I really do want to see a pullback there. Please, please, please. Cripple, already gone. Can't do anything there now. Ave, I've been waiting for this guy to pull back. Probably a good example how the moving averages turned back up bullish there. So it's just been rocking and rolling higher. Unfortunately, I just can't buy that up there. But if we do get some sort of correction in this space, I'll be more than happy to pick some back down here. I noticed this C pool just keeps moving higher here. This is the one actually I'm sort of scratching my head here about. Obviously, off of Kraken, there's not enough data here for us to make a reasoned decision. But I do like down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, breakout. So interesting how that double bottom actually came right off of that 78.6. So if I do get a pullback down into that level, I think I'll go and pick up some more. ARBA, ooh, hello. Look at that. We're getting close there. So not a big surprise. Reload zones, awesome trade location. W's coming in. If I can get a nice little stab down into this original low, I'll go and pick some more of this up. I do like him. I think he's nice and cheap. Dog money, can't chase that. As I told you, I sold some more right there. I'll reload on pullbacks. Interesting how SHIB actually did spit up the trending signal. So we'll see whether we can get some sort of stab back down against this original double bottom. But wow, what a perfect analogy. 78.6s for trade location. Look at that beautiful double bottom that came in right off that level. So I'm actually a little surprised, scratching my head a little bit, why dog money's moved up, but SHIB hasn't. That's a little bit surprising. I don't these names that they don't look like they're going fucking crazy, eh? They just don't look like there are some of them that have moved up substantially, but this is not actually like insanity. Insanity is when we do this kind of stuff and we blast off to new highs. I think you can make the argument we're just basing and we're trying to break out from a base, which means that, I've said it before, I'll say it again, pullbacks into this base are buying opportunities. I don't know whether it's going to take this long for the pullback to happen. It might, you never know in this crazy game. But, pullbacks, I think, are still buying opportunities. It might happen in a week. You never know. And I think I showed you yesterday that image on The Simpsons of Trump in a coffin. Ironically enough, if Trump actually gets whacked here by the 1%, the banksters and all that crap, you might find that this whole market just, the whole country goes into mourning for like a month or something. Could easily see something like that happen. Sushi. Now, this is an interesting looking chart, folks. Does anybody see this? Does anybody see this? Can you see this? That to me looks like, you know what this is? I mean, it hasn't turned up yet, but damn, if you're actually coming in below value here. How often do you see that on crypto? It's fascinating how nobody's interested in this name at all. I don't hear anybody talking about Sushi anymore. But and actually, Adam, you can answer this because Adam, of course, is awesome and he's always talking about this in the day trader room. But you tell me, do we see a letter of the alphabet in a moving average? And if we do, what are we supposed to think if we do see? Isn't that interesting? I wonder why those. Oh, let's. I guess maybe I have this. Oh, that's what it was. Sorry. Yeah, let's put everything else away. There we go. And now let's even put the price away. How do we do that? It's one of these buttons. Like a hide or something here. Yeah, there it is. Hide. Oh, hello. What are we supposed to think if we ever see W's in things like 13 EMAs? That's an interesting image, eh? Adam says 13 EMA W, my fave. So isn't that interesting? Chris, do you hear anybody? I don't know, somebody, maybe anybody over on YouTube? Do you hear anybody talking about this name right now? You want to thank Uncle Brian for bringing this idea up to your attention? I mean,
I do not
ironically
think
enough,
I've heard
whoops, hello.
anyone talk about sushi lately. I do
What's
remember
that?
sushi. I said I don't think I've heard anybody online talk about sushi lately. But I do
Yeah.
remember sushi having a very large supply of coins somewhere.
Oh
So,
yeah. I mean, my hunch here is probably if our buddy uh, CZ starts squawking again, you'll probably hear this thing come to life. That's my hunch, but for whatever it's worth. All I'll say is, as a risk taker in the marketplace, gee whiz, this is looking awfully attractive. Interesting horizontal support and resistance right down there. That's an interesting zone. Look at that cute little W that came in down there. And I don't know, you tell me, has this thing got any room to move up here? Any room at all? It used to be 16. Here we are at 80 cents. I don't know. Somebody take a screenshot of that. In fact, you know what? This is on Kraken too, isn't it? Let's see. Is this 78.6? Mind you, I think I already have a chunk of this. So I don't know whether I need any more. Yeah, look at that. That's a fucking level. Damn it. Hmm. How much? I don't really like doing this when I'm in the middle of a video, but what the fuck? Mind you, am I not? I'm not logged in. Damn it. Let's put this over here. I think I already got a couple grand of this thing on the books though, so I don't know whether I really need any more of this. Ah, I got to do that damn thing. Gee. Give me a second here. Are you guys enjoying this? Is this a waste of everybody's time? Hey, if you're not enjoying this, I can always just close this up and we'll call it a day. So just let me know on YouTube and here in the lounge. Mind you, hell, I can't even get Meg to say hi to me here today, so I must be doing something wrong. Is that gonna work? It did. All right. I tell you, man, that looks damn attractive. Damn attractive. But I think I have too much of this on the books anyway. Started moving everything over from the ledger, so this account's starting to look a little chunkier here. Oh, there you are. Oh no, no, really. Oh, take it easy, sweetie. Suppose it's like full on winter there now, eh? Yeah, sushi. I've got a couple grand of this. I don't really need any more. But isn't that interesting? If I didn't own as much as I did, it's basically about 10% of the portfolio. I think I'd go and buy more of this. I can't believe how good that looks. Holy Jesus. Let's see. Do we have any indicators? Oh, look at the indicators, all you indicator lovers. Does that look like a look at that cute little W in MACD there? Son of a gun. So anyway, it's sitting there, and what I usually tell people is I don't really anticipate this thing going to new highs. I never assume that. But is it realistic to look for things like a 50% retracement of that move into next fall? Sure, why not? That's like 10x. That's where you make ridiculous money. It's basically telling you it wants to do a 10x. It's not rocket science. Is it realistic that maybe you pick some up here and you could it's 80 cents? Is it realistic to think that maybe we could see this thing trade back to a buck 50, buck 60 to get yourself a double so you can bang out a risk-free trade? And then you're just playing with the market's money. And keep in mind, the best way to play this game is a market's money. Always the best way to play this game. So if we do break out through the top there, notice 2.618 says 148. There's 160 right there. That's a double right into that little wick right there. I wouldn't be surprised if actually we rally up and release these trap bulls up top there into that candle body high. So is it realistic to maybe think about seeing a double here over the next 6-8 months? I think so. I don't think it's not unrealistic. And of course, if we get that move up top there, oh God, we're all laughing, right? Anyway, and that's not even the new highs. All that is a 50% retracement. Big deal. That happens all day long. Anyway, so there's one for you to consider because I think that's basically sitting right there. I'm actually really interested in this Matic. I don't quite understand why this thing has fallen off the map the way that it has. Chris, do you know what the fundamental story here is on Matic?
From what I understand, Matic is a side chain. Um, Pretty prominent one, but I don't think that they've had like the same vigor and market participation that we saw like in 2022 into 2021, when scaling in Ethereum was like questionable, I guess. So I haven't heard much out of them since.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're pretty much like the developers are based or come out of India. So I kind of think of this as like an Indian kind of coin. I don't know if that's politically correct, but
Really? I
that's
did not
yeah,
know that.
yeah. So
Delete.
that's that's messed up. That's just how like my mind processes Matic. I still like Matic. I think they have congestion issues as like most chains do when there's a lot of heavy traffic, kind of like Solana, when there's like either a new coin or a lot of buying or a lot of activity or something like that. I know a lot of
uh,
projects kind of migrated from Ethereum to Matic
uh-huh.
in the early days, like I said, 2021, 2022. But again, I haven't heard much out of them lately. Not much.
Is this the same thing as Polygon?
Yes.
Ah, I remember we did those crypto shows with Nick. Well, we got it. Nick, if you're out there, if you want to hear today's video, love to have you come on and talk to us a little bit about if you're still using Polygon. Anyway, no W yet here. What's really interesting is look at this W right here. I mean, that was beautiful. So if we can get some sort of price action that looks like that, then I think I'll step in. But there is no W yet. So I was actually really interested when I saw this. I was like, okay, maybe we got something to work with here, and then it puked out. So if we just patiently, if this thing is even worth paying attention to, I'm actually a bit surprised considering the way Dog Money and a lot of these other names are taking off. I'm actually a little surprised to see this as weak as it is, and maybe that's a tell that maybe we should just leave this thing alone. Having said that, I'll keep a close eye out for W's. And of course, this, if anything, is a great sort of application of that moving average bias kind of thing. Do we want to just simply wait for the bias to actually turn back up before we even consider this? That might be something that Cotter might suggest us maybe consider. Anyway, nothing really to do on that one. That one's about the only one on my list here that I actually don't really like the look of. So I was curious as to what Chris would say about the fundamentals there. Rune, of course, this is Sjord's favorite coin. Well, one of his. Um, Probably not buyable by a guy like me. If anything, I want to see a stab down into 78.6s down against this tail low here. I might take a good look at it there. You can see I have the alert set. Interesting how the bias actually just turned back up here. We may not get that dip. And if it just grinds higher from here, then that's fine. Sierra's got plenty of it on the books. Certainly don't need any more. Did have an absolutely beautiful buy back in 2023. And this was one of the reasons why I'm not impressed with doing Ledger and DeFi. Completely fucked it up. Um, Thought I bought, turns out I didn't. What a fucking headache. But one hell of a buy signal right down in here. I mean, that was just absolute gift. Right here, nah, 6 to 1, half dozen the other. Good old Danny. Is Danny still? And actually, I was even mentioning this the other day. This is actually the environment where new Dannies will come to the fore. This is the environment where new Do Kwans will come to the fore. This is the environment where new SBFs will come to the fore. Now, maybe for Danny's sake, maybe he's not done. I do have some on the books. In fact, I think they're on Chris's books. But nonetheless, we do have some. I do have bids working to pick some more up down here, and I'm kind of pissed off that I didn't get filled down here, but shit happens. But you can see really below this level here, 740. I'm actually okay to be a buyer. So any kind of pullback back into reload zones here, back into these original double bottoms, don't be surprised if you hear that Brian pulled the trigger. But I really like the look of him. A good look. I mean, it's held the base here nicely. And maybe now it's time for Danny to really shine. I don't know. LPT, 6 to 1, half dozen the other, trending lower. You see where 78.6 is. I have the alert set at that level. If that goes off, I'll start paying closer attention. I don't think there's anything to do here right now, though. Our Vaca coin, interesting how we actually have a trending signal here. We are at 78.6s. We have double bottoms here. Hello. There's another name I'm giving you. So that's two and interesting. Anybody talking about Do Kwan's stable coin? But it's sitting there. That thing's telling you it's a buy. Got a beautiful double bottom there. You can maybe work a bid right off the double bottom there at 21.66. Since I would for little old ladies, nanny nibbles kind of idea. I'm perfectly happy being long from 2300 and change, 78.6. And you've got the moving average bias. In fact, Cotter, are you still watching this? Is this not something that would actually get your attention? I mean, I can't speak for him, but I could see that it would. And, are we Wing out on other sides of trend lines? This thing looks fucking sick. Eddie, are you around? ENC says pretty low developer activity on for Matic on crypto miso. Yeah, there's Eddie. So we kind of dropped the ball a little bit. We should have taken some profits and then we would have been able to buy them back and have two vacas working. But oh well, hindsight's 2020. But I think I even saw, did Chris, you probably saw this. I think I saw like Novigratz's face all over social media and stuff, right?
I
Did you
have
see
not
Novogratz?
seen Novogratz's face in quite some time. I see MicroStrategy guy's face quite often, but I have not seen Novogratz lately.
Where did I see his face? Maybe it was in a dream. I don't know. Where the hell did I see his face? Might have been on Twitter or something like that. Um, Clutter's driving. Okay, well, yeah, don't get into a car accident. Anyway, long and short of it here, it looks to me like that's a buy. So I've given you two ideas that I think are actually even buyable today, believe it or not. CRV. Oh, hello. Look at that little cute little son of a bitch. Jesus, H Christ. You tell me, has that thing got any room to move up here? What's up, Eddie? Eddie says, sure, no profit, vaca money, peg for the win. So we're not allowed to take profits on our vaca coin for whatever it's worth, which probably isn't worth much. But we're not allowed to take profits unless we are sitting on a Greek island and we've got gold-plated steaks being served at Leandros's a pool bar, and it's $1 a coin. That was our original plan all along here. So yeah, and where the hell's Zugi, eh? But yeah, so we did have this huge rally, and I was sort of going, man, guys, do you think we maybe should take some profits? They're like, no, Brian, remember the plan. What's the plan? What's the plan? Anyway, it's sitting there. Do with it as you please. Obviously, and the only reason why I mentioned Novogratz is this is clearly a play on the Luna story. I did hear a story recently that they burned a lot, or did they burn or they minted? One of the two. USD, I think was it UST? I don't know. But there was a massive, I think it was an issuance of coins, but it might have been a burn. I can't remember. So something was shaking with this story. I don't know whether it'll play out bull or not. But the reason why I mentioned Novogratz, of course, Novogratz got that funny tattoo on his arm with the Luna wolf, I think it is, or something like that. And I think that he will not let this rest until he gets his money back. And so I think he gets his money back if they can somehow reestablish the peg. Who knows? We'll see what happens. That might just be wishful thinking on my part. I don't know. All right, so moving on, that CRV, cute, looks like a cute little double bottoms trying to form there. Because this is a new closing low, maybe wait for like a close to actually test that low. But, you can see 78.6 is, you can see where my alert was. I don't know whether that alert will go off now. That looks like a nice bullish engulfing bar there. But hey, that's good to see. He's moving up nicely. I've got a whack of this on the books from last year as well. I guess we're probably underwater on this thing right now. So actually, that's interesting. That's one of the names that we're actually underwater on. BNB. Well, I don't know whether I mean this is of course CZ, and he still has all his BNB coins. I've got a bunch of this on the books. If anything, I think that CZ is going to use the BNB to finance further ventures in the crypto space. I don't know whether holders of BNB will actually benefit or whether he just considers this a big cash hoard. I don't know. But you can see, one low, two lows. This looks like an inverted head and shoulders. This looks like the neckline of the inverted head and shoulders. So measured move on head and shoulders. You take the distance from the head back to the neckline. Just roughly do that and then clone that. And that's your target up top. So somewhere up in that area. I don't know. I don't really think that this is a quote unquote buy here. Maybe you botted this. I don't know whether I would endorse coming in on the buy side there. I've got it on the books because I think it's a proxy on Mr. CZ. I wouldn't necessarily call this a technical buy here, probably like a trend continuation bot, but you can see where the bot is. So the fact that we hit the 50% level, if this thing actually comes down to bot levels, then that means that this trade idea is over. And this could very easily turn into a big double top. So just be aware of that. I don't even think there's even really a trade there, but I do have it on the books. So anyway, full disclosure for you. This Cello here, not much history on Kraken, so can't really talk too much about that. I do have it on the books. Bought it in DeFi, I guess, last year. Ocean, I got to get off my ass and exchange these for the new tokens. I'm actually surprised that I can even still get a price quote for this thing. So that's a bit of a surprise. But having said that, I would like to get the new issued tokens and just ride the inertia. We already sold half on a double, all that kind of stuff. I'd rather do that than just liquidate it here. This is not really the best place to sell this. But having said that, there's nothing I can really do on this. I have to go and exchange those. And wouldn't mind getting some help from the team on that, but having a bit of a hard time in that regard. ETH, yeah, I've talked this thing into the ground. You all know this trade. And the story, ironically enough, we still have this funny little remainder short on up top here. I wouldn't be surprised if, into this sort of inauguration event window into January, that kind of idea. I wouldn't be so. It actually kind of looks like this thing's trying to bot out here, right? So I had walked you guys through yesterday. If you did want to play this to the long side, I don't think it's a value trade at all. But I definitely think that there might be a momentum trade here. So, we did a measured move, boom, boom, right, from that low up to that high, and then botted it out. Where would that take us? And if it does take us up top here, remember I have the stop on that position basically at scratch, so it will just stop us out. And that's predicated on this market blasting through these highs. So, it's a trader's life. If you want to take the risk, I don't think it's a terrible risk to take, especially with the way crypto is kind of, in sort of the friendly market state right now. One low, and you could even argue down, down, down. There's actually two lows in there. Two lows, three lows. Look at this beautiful railroad tracks that formed overnight. So hell, you could even say, you know what, Brian, this is what we call front running the bot, where we know where the bot level is way up here. We already got the trend line break. Are we starting to get maybe even like off of there? Are we starting to get W's on other sides of trend lines? Could you use the railroad tracks as sort of your justification? That's a powerful 2-bar reversal pattern. Could you use that to justify all of these lows? Pull the trigger off of that level right there, and you just have to risk down to a break of that low there. So that's, what is that, 3012 kind of idea, somewhere in that area. And the breakout here is 3149. So you risk a grand total of what's that, about 30-40 bucks. It's not a bad risk to take, to be honest. In fact, because this thing already did fire through the railroad tracks level, you could even step in now and just risk against these lows. Yeah, caveat emptor. It's a momentum trade. If we lose these lows, you better get the F out of there because it means that the momentum has died and this thing could puke out big time. And just be fully aware, cognizant for whatever it's worth. It's not really worth much, but Brian is still working a daily short from this top up here. And I'm not going to say one way or the other. I actually could very easily see this thing pop up top here, run all these, especially people that never did take any profit. Notice how the bot target level would just be a washing of all of these highs. We rally up top there, then maybe put in an M and we head right back down. I could easily see that. That would not surprise me at all. So there is a trade idea for you. So I gave you two investable ideas, in my opinion, and a trade idea here if you feel like trading the market on momentum. I think probably, you know what, why don't we leave it at that for today? And on Wednesday, we'll just pick this up. We left off at ETH. So on Wednesday, we'll just pick up and we'll finish the rest of this list because it is well after 11 o'clock. We did start the video a little bit late, but I really don't like these videos going more than an hour or so. So I think we're at about a good hour, hour and a half or so. So I think we'll probably wind it up at that here shortly. So the final look at yield corn. We can look at it here on a we'll look at it here on a daily chart. Anything we can sort of glean out of this. Pretty strong momentum move up here. Just looking at price itself, it does look like we have pretty big bot setups to take us up to $200,000. Wow. This might be an example of front running the bot where you could have bought, either this W was not clothesline one, but this W looked pretty solid in there. 1, 2, 3 higher lows, whatever. If you were so inclined, I do remember on this site we had a really cool little inside bar reversal signal off of this low. It turns out that that was the trade. But anyway, so hindsight's always 2020. My hunch here is that it does look like things are maybe getting a little tired here, just purely from price. Gravestone dojis. This is a daily price chart, so you really don't want to see that. Remember, I showed you that gravestone doji on the US dollar earlier. So interesting how we've seen Bitcoin move up and the US dollar move up in conjunction. So you wonder how much Bitcoin actually is affecting the US dollar index. I'd be curious on that. I mean, I suppose, if you do like gravestone dojis, this one bar in itself is actually pretty much like a whole market structure signal, because if you actually drill down to like a lower time frame, you notice that, oh wow, that turns into some sort of railroad tracks. If we go down to even lower, we find out, oh well, actually that's an M top. And you could even drill down here and you go, wow, you know what? That's an inside bar reversal. And that actually kind of looks like it's not the best one, but Adam and Eve top. So this is like candlestick math. If you think about a higher time frame, what does a bearish chart pattern look like just on a single candle? Usually it means that if you drill down to a lower time frame, you can actually find that the market went up, put in an M, and then broke down, and there's your gravestone doji. I would probably say, interesting how they couldn't take the market through this high, 129. Oh, we're looking at it in Canadian dollars. Oh, what a knucklehead. Probably don't need to look at it there. Let's go look at it in real money. If anything, that probably, same thing in real money too. So I thought maybe that was just purely a function of the piece of shit Canadian dollar. but actually it looks just as bad in US dollars as well. So Gravestone Doji, everything I just said still applies. That looks like a nasty, in fact, that might even be an engulfing bar. Yeah, it is. Look at that, son of a bitch. So you can see how this candle here opened up higher than that previous candle. Can't call it a key reversal. But so far, if we close below this candle body low, we could call that an engulfing bar. So that's a message unto itself. And interesting, I suppose, off of this perspective, did this all happen in a reload zone? So, boom. Oh, look at that. Brian's favorite fib. Oh, I love that. This is actually a really good example of, let's say you just like trade location. So you see that the market pounds into that level right there. So you go in short and you're going to risk against this high. Me personally, I absolutely love candle body highs and lows for trade location, but look how we missed the trade there. Oh, what a bummer. Anyway, 78.6, right? You're filled. Oh, okay, I'm fine. Oh, we closed here. Oh, I'm even better. Opened up. Oh, and then, fucking A, look at me. I'm so smart. Woohoo, look at me. And then it opened up. Oh, that went down. Oh, I'm so smart. And then, oh, no, I'm stupid. Oh, damn it. Oh, now I'm in trouble. And then we opened up. Oh, are you in trouble? No, no, no. Now you're smart again. Really, really, really good example of, I love when I put on trades on like 78.6s. Half of the time when you do trades against highs like this, you actually find that the market just oscillates right around your level for a couple hours and then finally just loses its lunch and pukes out. Or if the market's in a different temperament, it blasts out fire. But I love location like this because you actually spend a lot of time a little bit out of the money, take a little bit of heat, but then heavily in the money, then a little bit out of the money, then, oh, I'm making lots of money. I love that 78.6 fib as a trade location. Really, really great analogy of that. So, ironically enough, from a trader's perspective, probably if we are traders, we should be looking at things like the actual futures. Hello. Well, there's the gravestone doji. Remember, we saw that in the US dollar. I tell you, I think the US dollar index and Bitcoin are highly correlated. And you'll know that this rally is done if we start closing out below these levels here. So, actually, this is an interesting anecdote of Mr. ICT and that market structure level kind of idea. So you can see bullish structure, higher highs and higher lows. So if we actually get this market to come down here and close down in here, not only is it going to have the market smiling at us, but it will also imply that the market has closed below this previous structure, which means if we do get that, that's a big if, which means that I would be hunting for things like mountain man moves on the other side of that event as a really, really good short trade location right in there. And what a big surprise right into that gravestone doji. You've heard me say before, people are often trapped in trades. Well, this is a really, really good example of a whole bunch of bulls are trapped in there and they can't get out and they're just praying to God there's some sort of counter trend rally into that wick to get them the hell out of there. And I think that's basically what's happening here. So no real breakdown yet. For the time being, think you're still stuck in a trading range and we might just range for the next little while. Having said that, if you actually see corn prices melt down here and in the futures, if we start closing below 86, 87,000 in that area, then I think put a fork in her. I think the rally's done. All right. I think that basically summarizes what I see. I guess the only final thought for you, and this sort of ties into what I was warning you about earlier. We'll know that the end of this run has come when we start to see not that one. When we start to see, which one it is. This one? Yeah. When we start to see these guys coming to life. Uh-oh. So when you start seeing these guys all start going crazy, wife changing money, uh-oh. When we start seeing these guys all start going crazy, that's the sign that we're probably getting close to the end. They're not going crazy yet. Interestingly enough, he's trying to get liftoff speed. This is a good example of like a Adam or Eve Adam bottom. So they haven't gone crazy yet. When these charts, you pull them up and they're just like straight up and woo, we're all getting rich, then you know that the run is over. Right now, I'd actually say that they're just starting to wake up. So this guy here, that's a buy signal right there on rising volume. So I don't know whether you want to participate or not, but this will be the cue that we're actually very close to the end of this move. And I don't think that these names go crazy until we get into January. So if anything, see if you can sneak in there and grab some positions here on any kind of pops. Get yourself those risk-free trades. And then when these things start going and acting like crazy, like they do, keep in mind, look how this one acted here. You know, when you start seeing this kind of price action, of course, that's when you can go buy your Lambos. But that's the sign, of course, that we're probably near the end of this whole move. And I don't think we're there yet. If anything, this thing looks like it's just starting to get going here. So, okay, let's leave it at that. Have yourselves a great day. Hope you enjoyed the offering. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Give us some feedback here on whether you like us just doing the public shows or whether you would prefer that we just keep them internal. And of course, also consider we're coming into Black Friday events, and we do pretty substantial discounts for all of our various products and school offerings here through the Black Friday sales window. So if you're looking for substantial discounts to consider joining TRI, and the education program now is that window. So, and that's half the reason why I'm talking with the public as much as I am right now. I'd love to encourage you to consider joining the site. All right, all the best, and bye for now.